The following Degrassi video contains topics that are not normal to talk about and may not be suitable for everyone watching this video. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Hey there, Heather, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to part two of the Degrassi Saddest Storylines per season and all that. The first part, I went through the saddest moments from Degrassi Junior High up to season 7 of Next Gen. Touching up on Wheels losing his adoptive parents in a car accident and the fallout to Degrassi High of a closed suicide in Showtime, and basically trying to make people look bad. Season one, I talked about Emma's catfishing. Season two saddest storyline was Craig dealing with his abusive father and then him subsequently dying. Season three, I went with Snake's leukemia and all that because Snake was a legendary person and all that. I know there were some that I missed out on. Season four, I said time stand still, obviously, and was like, what the hell? And a lot of people will be like, season three should have been like Carrie, being put in that coma by Rick. Yeah, but season four was the accumulation of it. Season five, the saddest storyline was, what was the saddest storyline in season five? I don't remember. Oh, Liberty's pregnancy. Season six was when JT died in Rock This Town and all that. Season seven, I talked about the saddest storyline was. What was season seven's saddest storyline? I can't remember. Oh yeah, Darcy. Oh yeah, Darcy being raped and not finding her guy. So anyway, let's finish off. So Degrassi season 8 is when the next generation, like the people from Lakehurst and the new Degrassi people came in, and the saddest storyline was Jane Says. It was a powerful two-part episode. Jane has to find out that her father is back in her life, and she doesn't understand why she hates him and all that. And then through weird dreams and sequences, she realized that he had her way with her, especially when she needed to be dressed for bedtime and all that. He would, do something very bad and all that. This was also the episode in which the Shep comes back from sensitive training and people don't want him around, and Shep tries to change his tone. But anyway, Lucas, who finally has his father back in his life and wants his father to be proud of him, even though Lucas is kind of a deadbeat dad to Izzy. I mean, he does pay attention to Izzy, but it doesn't seem that way. But when Jane tells Lucas everything about their father and all that, Lucas doesn't believe it at first, but then he starts to have second thoughts thinking Jane's right. And then when he sees his father come close to Izzy, he realizes he needs to break the cycle of abuse. So he tells his dad to stay out of their lives forever because of what he did to Jane and all that. Lucas does come clean in family therapy, saying that he should have been there for Jane and all that. However, Jane said that, we were just kids and you're here now. So Jane had an understanding. And then it seemed like Lucas was going to finally step up to the plate, be a good dad. Poof, he's gone. He gets no mention even. Like, okay, no appearances, but he doesn't even get mentioned by Jane. What the hell? Like, it would have been nice to see Jane talk about her brother fixing the problems, or in season 9, when Mia moves to Paris. Like, what does Lucas do in this situation? But yeah, it was sad to see Jane do that, and she sleeps on a park bench outside. It's just so sad and all that. And also the fact that she was being hazed by the football team, like all the boys and all that, was also sad too. Yeah, stupid Shep saying no special treatment. You can't just protect Jane. Do you have to be so stupid? I mean, Shep deserved to get what he got. An elimination. Season 9. I know this is apropos, but I think the saddest storyline had to be when Holly J got what she was in with the whole face range thing, like the I Hate Holly J group and all that. Like Allie started to get on Holly J's case because Holly J seemed to be unrepentant and all that. And if you see her in the first few seasons she's in, she's basically just like her sister Heather Sinclair. She just wants to be a queen bee, and she puts everyone down, especially Anya, who has little self-esteem, as it seemed. But the fact of the matter was that Ali was okay. I understand Ali trying to do that thing to get on Holly J's nerves. But the threats against Holly J should not have happened. There should not have happened in that. Ali, of course, gets blamed for everything, has to apologize to Holly J. Holly J's parents talk to the police. It wasn't Holly J. She didn't want to fuck Ali up, if you will. Ali just basically thinks Holly J's a dick and all that. But fortunately, Ali and Anya talk Holly J to stay at Degrassi and all that. I mean, this actually was the start of something good because Holly J started to become a decent character in everyone's mind. Yeah, she kind of pushed Anya to try to screw over Sav in the student council election, and then Anya turns on Holly J. Basically, Holly J had it coming. Season 10 saddest storyline is gonna be, I would say Vegas Night, but I don't think it was that sad and all that. It was more problematic. Oh, I don't really have a sad thing for season 10. Maybe, oh, Adam, that's right. When Adam comes into town, Adam moves from his previous school because they're not accepting of Adam, and he goes to Degrassi and all that. But we soon learn that Adam is transgender. He was born a female by the name of Gracie, and then wanted to turn into the guy named Adam and all that. And of course, Degrassi having troubles dealing with Adam's transition and all that. We soon learned that Adam was the quote unquote son of Degrassi's biggest mama bear, aka Audra Torres, who was such a bitch sometimes. I'm sorry, but that's how I view her. But Audra got better. The fact of the matter is that Audra, although she wanted Degrassi to help deal with Adam's situation and gets mad at Simpson for not taking Adam's thing seriously, she shows her colors. She's not accepting of Gracie either. She wants Gracie back. Adam tells her, "You got a second son." Audra seems to not want to accept her, and then Adam decides to burn himself, and then Audra finally turns around and says, "Fine." I think Audra was under the pressure from her parents and all that. It's the cycle of trouble. But the fact of the matter is, Audra finally shows her true colors and wants to accept Adam for who he was. And it was good because, Claire, she may be a Christian goody-goody in a sense, but she was accepting of Adam's stuff, even Eli. I mean, if Claire's accepting of Adam, why the hell can't other people? Season 11 is Fiona's problems with Bobby. This had to be, I think this was the season in which Fiona and Bobby. Well, the problem was that when we watched Degrassi Goes Manhattan, one of the main storylines, not involving Emma and Spinner and Jane, was the fact that Fiona and Declan were in New York, and then Holly J went to New York for an internship. And then Fiona was upset with Holly J being with Declan. So she decides to kiss Declan and create what they call twincest. All that because Fiona doesn't know how to handle things because Declan's always been there for her. So she just can't separate herself from Declan, and Declan yells at her and forces her to go to the Hamptons to get help. Like, the Hamptons for help? How's that going to be good? It's like rich people problems. So the fact of the matter is that, Fiona tries to get herself, and then inexplicably, her first major storyline after breaking off with Declan was being with Bobby, who was abusive towards her, and then she turns to alcohol for coping mechanisms. Fiona, I think, kind of won the case, but lost it in the same time. She had to go through rehab and all that, but it was just sad to see that Fiona just had to hit almost rock bottom. And then she decides to have a relationship with Imogen. I think I don't know if Fiona showed her true colors of being a lesbian at first and all that. I think it's kind of like Paige because, Paige, we didn't see any hints of her being a lesbian before she got to Alex. But I think like Paige, and I know this is a stupid opinion, but I feel like with Paige, Fiona was sick of boys taking advantage of her and all that and said, screw boys, I'm turning to the other side. And that's girls. I think Paige, in a way, kind of did turn towards Alex, mostly because, men screwed her over, especially in season 4. One of the saddest storylines that I didn't get to was, the whole thing with Dean. But I'll explain that in detail later. But anyway, Dean got away with rape on Paige. Spinner cheated on Paige with Manny, even though that Paige was working on the movie theater to pay back Spinner's car damages because she crashed Spinner's car into Dean's car on purpose. Rick coming back to the school and just getting under her skin, and Mr. Olander just basically pushing her into a relationship and then basically wanting Paige to take all the rap for the relationship. But everyone knew that he was the bad guy. He was even Simpson. So maybe she just couldn't trust guys and turned the other way. I mean, she did go with Griffin in the college years. So, like, maybe she changed back. Who knows? But yeah, Fiona, that was that. Season 12, like, no doubt why it's the saddest. It has to be Cam's death. Really? You really think anything was sadder than Cam's death in season 12? You're living under a rock. So anyway, Cam comes with many guys, including Dallas and Luke Baker, as part of the hockey team, the Ice Hounds. People get it wrong that this was a Degrassi team. This was not a Degrassi team. This was a major junior team. Because I know in America it doesn't really click it with major junior teams unless you're from like the Washington State or Erie or Pennsylvania or like a couple teams from Michigan. You'll know what I'm talking about. So major junior hockey is basically a good step to get into the NHL and all that. I know for sure because I live in Kitchener and they have a great team called the Kitchener Rangers. And that's when like 16, 17, 18, and 19-year-olds play on the team, and then they get the attention of NHL scouts who draft them and all that. Cam Reed was drafted by the St. Louis Blues this past year in 2025. That's one of the major examples of that. So yeah, they were part of a major junior team for NHL scouts to see them and all that. Cam was supposed to be this hotshot, but he was lacking skill and all that. His hockey team rode him hard. And who can blame Cam? I mean, like, he was 10 hours away from his home. He lived in Kapuskasing in Northern Ontario. So he didn't have the family thing. He lives with a billet family, and they don't understand his problems. He goes with Maya. Maya likes Cam, but Sig is a little bit jealous of Cam being with Maya. He wants Maya for some strange reason. He gets under Cam's skin, gets Cam in trouble at school, and seemingly takes Maya. But Cam and Maya seem to be okay. Cam takes Maya's stuff out hoot and will give it back to her in front of the school. However, Sig comes in and says, "Stay out of Maya's life forever." That's the cry of a jealous boyfriend. So basically, Cam takes it to heart and does something at the JT York greenhouse that's sickening, and Eli was shocked. A lot of people said he hung himself. A lot of people said he slashed himself. But the fact of the matter is, maybe he drank garden chemicals. Maybe somehow he found some garden chemicals, drank them, and under the influence, he either hung himself. Oh, I shouldn't really be gesturing like that, or slashed himself. And of course, as somebody who knows firsthand about garden center stuff, because I worked at Canadian Tire Garden Center with chemicals and all that the past 3 years, I should know that that's what happens. But yeah, that's what happens. Maya seems to be indifferent and all that. But she gives this stuff at Cam's thing, saying that Cam was stupid for killing himself. I would have helped him, and everyone thought Maya was off her rocker. But I mean, Cam, I think she had the right idea. Like, I don't think Maya was wrong in that situation. Unfortunately, later on, Maya would get affected by it. But like Cam, like it had to be that way. Season 13's saddest storyline. Well, I know there was a tie for. I think it would be a tie. Like I think Adam died in season 13, right? Didn't he? Yeah. Adam was going through problems with Becky because Becky's family are Christian. They don't want a transgender person being with Becky, and I understand that. But Becky starts to fall for Adam, but Adam has a thing with Imogen, and Adam wants to be with Becky more than Imogen. And then unfortunately, he takes his eyes off the road while traveling his car, trying to get Stella motion. Bam! He hits a tree. He lives for a little bit, then dies of his injuries. And basically, everyone was sad, especially Drew with that mean face. Like, seriously. So anyway, Drew does all that, and Adam's death is mourned by Degrassi. Becky wants to set something up and all that, and finally people come to it because they finally do it and all that. Of course, Becky would have her own problems later on in season 13 when Zoe ends up getting sexual, um, unconsensual sex by Luke and Neil, like Luke Baker and Neil, his friend. So Zoe doesn't know how to handle it. Becky decides to help Zoe out and out her brother for what he did. Luke and Neil go to trial. The Bakers try to get Becky to say that she mishandled the situation and to protect Luke at all costs. Becky misses her first appearance and then has to go for her second appearance. And then she was just thinking, maybe I should help him out. But then Luke decides to tell Becky that, you have to help me out. When our grandmother lost the ring, you lost our grandmother's ring down the sink. I covered for you. But Peggy said the next day I came forward in it. And then Luke just flat out tells Becky this stuff. And Becky uses it against Luke at the trial. Like, if Luke kept his mouth shut, maybe Becky would have helped. But yeah, Becky helps Zoe out, get justice for Luke and Neil, sending them to juvie for a pair of years. But unfortunately, Mr. and Mrs. Baker basically shun Becky. They can't throw her out because Becky will probably talk and, it'll make it look bad. I wouldn't put it past the church that Mr. Baker was a minister at to basically say, no way, man. And you wanted to help Luke, a rapist? You're done. You're done. You're not going to be a minister anymore. I think he lost his job because of that. They could have got in trouble with the law if Becky wanted to. But yeah, poor Becky, season 14, she had to live with her parents, just basically shunning her. And the saddest storyline, season 14, Claire miscarrying her kid. I know I missed Claire and her cancer, but so anyway, Claire ended up with cancer at the start of season 13 when she was supposed to go to Paris. But, she had to stay because she had sarcoma, or glass sarcoma, whatever you would call it. And then all of a sudden, Claire just couldn't do stuff. She had to lose her hair. She had to go through a lot of things. And then she ends up getting pregnant somehow. Drew is thinking he's the father and all that, but a visit to the doctors reveals that it was too late and all that. And she was pregnant. She was far along in her pregnancy than Drew would have said. But it was Eli. So basically, Eli and Claire were going to have the kid, and Claire was going to name it Adam because, of course, she thought it was Drew's. And, for Drew's late brother. Unfortunately, he dies in the womb and all that. Claire miscarries, which is the first time we've heard of a miscarriage in the Degrassi universe. And then she goes on that road trip with Eli to upper New York State and basically cries about not knowing her child. Worst of all was when she was told that she could be valedictorian for graduation by Miss Pill. She mentions, well, of course, Miss Pill came in after Snake had to be investigated for the Degrassi nude stuff, which, of course, he survived. It wasn't his fault. Anyway, Miss Pill puts cameras in the hallway. Okay, you can put cameras in the hallway, but she puts it with audio so that she snoops in and tries to help people. Okay, you want to help students, but this is wrong. So basically, she does this. Claire decides to out Pill's policies and all that, and decides to smash all the cameras. Pill basically goes nuts, giving her a 2-week detention, stripping her of her student council powers, and just basically shunning her. I mean, okay, Pill wanted to put cameras in the hallway, fine, but audio and to snoop on your students? Geez, not even Raditch would do that. Not even Hatzelackles, not even Snake would do that. So basically, she kind of lost her job because of that. Well, she was only supposed to be temporary, but then when they find out that Snake was not part of the Degrassi Nudes conspiracy, then basically, they had to put him back. But she lost brownie points because of that. And also because she basically gave Drew a lot of heck and all that, and basically had to punish Drew by saying, you will not cross the stage for your graduation. I have to make sure that everyone plays my way. But worst of all is that she forgets that Audra Torres is there. And I think Mama Bear did something to her. Like, she was part of the student council, like the PTA, the PTA. But she could have used her power to tell the school board about these things, and then that would have been the icing on the cake, and Pill would have been screwed. Just thinking. Saddest storyline from season 1 of Next Class, or season 15, if you will. That's a good one. I would say Hunter's descent into madness was kind of sad. It was sad in a sense, but like Hunter was basically made to be an incel and all that. Just he was upset that his gaming club got canceled because the game that they created had female models in a bad way. I mean, it's a boo boo. They could have fixed it, but Hunter acted like a dickwad and basically got everything taken away. So he decides to go after the feminists and go after Goldie. But somehow Maya gets involved. I think Goldie used Maya as a mouthpiece, and Maya was just trying to fit in to the situation. So Maya almost dies, but Miles catches Hunter before he does something stupid. He gets put into a mental facility for a while and then comes back to the school. I think that Simpson had to put Hunter back because, Hollingsworth would have put the pressure on Simpson for stuff. And Simpson was just basically, I know I have to pause because the first thing I'm thinking of is not good on TV. But anyway, yeah, he was sucking up to Hollingsworth. There we go. Saddest storyline from season 2 of Next Class. I don't think the whole racist poster was sad and all that. It didn't really have any sad moments. It just had anger and the Black Lives Matter thing, and that definitely wasn't sad. But I guess the bus crash. Yeah, the bus crash at the end of season 2 of Next Class. Because Degrassi had to go to Northern Tech for a game. Frankie was going to sit out, but got brought in because they needed the win. And then a group of boosters, including Tristan, Maya, and a few others, actually wanted to go to Northern Tech to cheer on Degrassi. But they ended up in a crash, and then Tristan's in a coma, and a lot of people died. That was the best part of Tristan being in a freaking coma. But the fact of the matter is, it wasn't that true. And Maya basically had her issues, and that leads us to the saddest part of season 3, Maya almost offing herself. After the bus crash, Maya just couldn't get her mind off death and all that. And seemingly, the whole thing with Cam came back to her. Well, season 14, she also had the problems too of, you know, everything coming back to her with the whole Cam thing. And, season 14, she envisioned Miles going down the same path as Cam did. I mean, I don't blame her because she's scared lightning will strike twice. You can't blame Maya for that. So what ends up happening with Maya is that she's a terror. She's in a terrible mood and all that. And then in the season finale, she decides to she finds an abandoned bus, takes some pills, which she swiped from her mother, and takes them, and then wants to fall asleep on the school bus, but doesn't. And then 30 minutes later, she's like, "I'm not doing anything right." So she guys go to the school and jump off the roof. But fortunately, Sig and Esme were there on the roof and caught Maya because the pills did kick in, and Maya is saved. So she's in the hospital. She's going to be fine. And then Tristan, in his voice thingy, says he wants pizza, and everyone leaves. And everyone thought that was a pathetic way to end that campaign, especially with Maya in the bad situation. Um, and the saddest season 4 is Esme's downfall. Because Esme was a decent character. Yeah, she was kind of a prick and all that, but there was more to her character that meets the eye. Remember, in season 3, she confessed that she saw her mother kill herself in front of her. So that's why she's kind of a little bit off edge. So Esme wants to be with Sig and keeps Sig so much she puts herself, Sig, and Frankie in a polyamorous relationship, thinking that Sig's going to go off with Maya. Sig and Maya go to prom, although it was accidental, like Maya didn't mean to, and Esme was upset. So there was a bomb threat that killed off prom, and then Esme finds Sig and hurts him after the prom. Maya sees this, and Maya feels so terrible. She decides to not go to graduation because she ruined it. However, Grace is there to help her out. I know you can also say Zoe being basically blacklisted by her mom for being gay and all that. It was a little bit sad, but it was kind of pathetic. I don't think her mom was upset with Zoe being gay so much as the fact that Zoe was not getting movie roles and all that because of her homosexuality, and people are just being pricks. So, not she couldn't live off her daughter anymore. She could have either found a job or a sugar daddy, and you can probably guess which one she took. So basically, she shunned Zoe and all that. It could have been religious. You never know. But yeah, and then Esme is upset that Sig is thinking about Maya, and then buys a motorcycle to try to get Sig to stay with her. But Sig says, "You need help," and Esme says, "I called it a bomb threat for you." So she was the bomb threat, and Syed was unfortunately accused of it. Syed was going to head to Montreal because, the racism in Toronto, but Lola told him he should stay. So that's that. And, you know, poor Esme. I feel so bad for her. I really do. So you got that. Now, there were some sad storylines that were not featured, like the tops and all that. Some storylines that did not make the cut. Okay, first off is Steph in Degrassi Junior High. Steph was this precocious girl in the first episode, kissing people to get votes and thinking that it's a breeze to be a student council president, but she has to do a lot of work with the PTA and all that, and she's in over her head. But in season 2 of Junior High, she ends up winning some kind of thing with a soap opera star, but he wants to take advantage of her, and poor Steph survives that ordeal. It has to be season 2 because season 3 of Junior High, she wasn't there. She moved to another school. Also in Degrassi Junior High, the whole thing with Mr. Colby was a sad storyline. Well, it was kind of an awkward storyline because, Mr. Colby was filling in for Raj while he had his appendix out, and then he wants to take advantage of Lucy and Susie. But fortunately, Lucy speaks up and Colby gets in trouble. We also had the thing with Tristan and Yates in a sense that Maya spoke up because she was worried about Tristan, but Tristan basically made Maya look like the bad guy, which was pathetic. Also, Craig in his bipolar stuff from season 4, because season 2 we kind of saw some kind of reminders of being bipolar, but season 4 in Voices Carrie, when he goes to Ashley's dad's gay wedding and all that, he acts irrationally. He wants to marry Ashley and all that, but Ashley says, "We're not getting married, Craig." Craig then steals Joy's credit card for everything in the hotel room and thinks he's okay and all that, but he actually beats up Joey, who's trying to help the situation because Nate told Joey the signs are there. Craig gets diagnosed as being bipolar. Ashley stays by his side until she decides to move at the end of season 4 to England, and Craig is off his meds. Also, Ellie in season 3, because her father was a colonel in the army and he was going to Afghanistan, which of course was a thing back then. Her mother was an alcoholic mess, and Ellie had a lot of pressures. So she takes a protractor. Oh no, sorry, I keep messing up. It's not protractor, a compass. And she's, you know, I should that should just be the reminder. But starts doing that, and Paige of all people decides to help Ellie get out of her problems. Ellie has her PTSD situation, and that's why she's falling off the cliff. And then by season 8, she almost drowns in the Pacific in the Degrassi movie. It's sad to see Ellie and all that because her dad has PTSD and she doesn't want to see him. But yeah, that episode was controversial because some girls in Montreal did that, and did what Ellie did, and CTV had to apologize. Ellie and Leo in season 13, that was also a terrible storyline too. Like Ellie meets Leo in France, and then he ends up getting to Canada somehow, and Ellie decides to marry Leo, even though Leo is abusive towards Ellie, emotionally more and physically too. Fortunately, Ellie gets out of it because Leo physically abuses her one too many times, and he is basically shipped back to France. Ellie should never have married Leo in the first place. I mean, like, that's just pathetic. It's just sad and all that. Oh, I guess I should have. Yeah, season 10 was also at Ellie sad storyline that she ran away because the whole boiler room thing from Vegas night, she was put into these self-esteem seminars by Audra Torres, probably as a way to punish Ali for having anything with Drew, even though Drew was trying to defend Ali. And then all of a sudden, Ali decides to go to another school and basically gets in trouble with her parents thanks to one of her supposed friends busting, uh, giving her a cigarette and basically just, you know, blackmailing Ali. Ali decides to run away because her parents are not willing to help her out. And they finally decide to give in, and Ali comes back home, and then they start anew. Yeah. Claire's miscarriage. Steph. So his trial, I talked about. Cam, I talked about. Um, Jason. Oh yeah, last one is Paige in season 4. Because in season 2, Paige went to a party and then Dean decides to have his way with her. She feels awful about it. She doesn't tell anyone because she doesn't want to be treated any different and all that. But bit by bit, even Ashley, even though Ashley hates Paige at this point in season 2, she wants to help Paige out with her problems and all that. They write a song called Poor Girl and basically get Dean to be in trouble. And then Paige goes to the police to file a report. But by season 4, she finally gets the chance in the season premiere and she gives some damning testimony. And the judge credits Paige with everything, but then says that due to lack of evidence, I have to say not guilty. Sorry. Even Dean's lawyer looked shocked and all that. I know she was defending Dean, but she was on Paige's side in a sense. She had to be on Dean's side, which was stupid. But yeah, Paige then decides to get revenge on Dean by crashing Smear's car into Dean's car and takes the rap saying that's what good people do when they do something bad. And Dean basically doesn't give a flying you know what because he's like, if you really didn't want to be with me, why are you going after me? Like, you could just get me out of your life. Well, Dean, you're such a prick. White man, white privilege, just like Peter. So anyway, thanks for watching this two-parter thing. I know I had to get a lot off my chest. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.